So we'll just sing a song that we usually sing during this, before the class here. It's on, right? You can hear me? Okay. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Vijana Vallabha Girivaradari Vijana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Prajojana Ranjana Yashodanandana Prajojana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari So, this evening we'll be reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, which is entitled The Science of God. Chapter 5, Prahlad, the saintly son of Hiranyakashipu. And we're on text 23. So Srimad Bhagavatam, it's a book, 18-volume book, 18,000 verses, 12 cantos. And if you read 40 pages a day of this book, Srimad Bhagavatam, then you'll finish it in a year, this book here. So it is, you could say, one of the main books within this particular tradition, Bhakti Yoga tradition, or Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition. And it's the book that our teacher, Srila Prabhupada, who's to the left of me here, he spent a lot of time translating this book, because it's originally in Sanskrit, written in Sanskrit. They say it's the mother of all languages. And so he translated it from that language into English, and then wrote commentary or purports. So he would get up very early in the morning, 1 a.m., something like that, and he would spend some hours every morning translating this work for us. So yeah, this is kind of jumping ahead because we just passed 6 cantos. We're on the 7th canto. But it's a famous verse. They've been chanting it for thousands of years. So it's a famous verse, and describing, you could say, the essence of Krishna consciousness. So I'll just read the Sanskrit, and then I'll read the English. And then I'll read some of the commentary, and then we could discuss. And if there's any comments or questions from all of you, then we could entertain those. All right, so if everybody could please repeat after me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay, so Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 5, Prahlad, the saintly son of Hiranyakashipu, text 23 and 24. Shri Paradu Vacha Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam Padasevanam Archanam Vandanam Dasyam Sakyam Atma Nivedanam Iti Pumsar Pita Vishnu Bhaktischen Navalakshana Kriyate Bhagavat Yada Tanmanye Ditam Uttamam. So the translation is translation and commentary by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Prahlad Maharaj said, so this is a boy of 5 years old. He's speaking. Great saintly person, Prahlad Maharaj, devotee. Prahlad Maharaj said, hearing and chanting about the transcendental holy name, form, qualities, paraphernalia, and pastimes of Lord Vishnu, remembering them, serving the lotus feet of the Lord, offering the Lord respectful worship with 16 types of paraphernalia, offering prayers to Krishna, becoming his servant, considering Krishna one's best friend, and surrendering everything unto him. In other words, serving him with the body, mind, and words. These 9 processes are accepted as pure devotional service. One who has dedicated his life to the service of Krishna through these 9 methods should be understood to be the most learned person, for he has acquired complete knowledge. So, purport. So this particular purport, it's actually one of the longest purports in the whole Srimad Bhagavatam, written by Srila Prabhupada, because he's going through these 9 processes of devotional service. So we're not going to read the whole purport because let's see how many pages it is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. About 14 and a half pages. So we're not going to read the whole thing tonight, but on your free time you could read. But we'll read a section of the purport, and specifically a section dealing with the first item of devotional service, which was listed in this verse as Shravanam, hearing. Hearing. Okay, so this is Prabhupada's purport. It says 1, Shravanam. Hearing of the holy name of Krishna is the beginning of devotional service. Although any one of the 9 processes is sufficient, in chronological order, the hearing of the holy name of Krishna is the beginning. Indeed, it is essential. As enunciated by Lord Chaitanya, Chaito Darpana Marjanam, by chanting the holy name of Krishna, one is cleansed of the material conception of life, which is due to the dirty modes of material nature. When the dirt is cleansed from the core of one's heart, one can realize the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha. Thus, by hearing the holy name of the Lord, one comes to the platform of understanding the personal form of Krishna. After realizing Krishna's form, one can realize the transcendental qualities of Krishna. And Krishna is another name for God. And one can understand his transcendental qualities, one can understand Krishna's associates. In this way, a devotee advances further and further toward complete understanding of Krishna as he awakens in realization of Krishna's holy name, transcendental form, and qualities, his paraphernalia, and everything pertaining to him. Therefore, the chronological process is Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu. This same process of chronological understanding holds true in chanting and remembering. When the chanting of the holy name, form, qualities, and paraphernalia is heard from the mouth of a pure devotee, his hearing and chanting are very pleasing. Srila Sanatana Goswami has forbidden us to hear the chanting of an artificial devotee or non-devotee. Hare Krishna part. Hello? I'll just offer some prayers before we continue. Om Jnana Timidandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshulanmadatam Nena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karitavachalam Pangam Langaite Girim Yakripatamaham Vande Shri Gurun Dinitaranam Vansha Kopadirubhisha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktivinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So the most they say in some cases they say the most important sense is the sense of hearing. And like all of us tonight, I suspect that we'll all go to sleep. Maybe some people stay up, but go to sleep at 4 a.m. or something like that. So I guess they won't go to sleep tonight. They'll go to sleep tomorrow morning. But let's say that most of us here will go to sleep tonight before 12. So tomorrow morning, when we get up in the morning, when we get up at 4, or we get up at 5 or 6 or 7, or whenever we get up, I suspect that most here, unless you're like, anyways, most here will use a phone or alarm clock, some type of alarm. Most people use their phones nowadays. Alarm clock to get up. In other words, we're sleeping, and we're using some type of, to wake up, alarm clock. And just like if there's a fire in the house, right? If there's a fire in our house or in our apartment or in our bus or wherever we're living, if there's a fire, we may be sleeping very soundly, but if somebody comes and they see there's a fire and they shout, "Hey, wake up, wake up," then we'll wake up from that sound. So just like we had one devotee here in San Diego when there was these big fires happening in 2009, I believe. Anyways, around that 2009, was it? Where's the fact checker? Yes? Yeah, 2000. Okay, thank you. I was looking for you actually. Saying, where's Narendra Soni? So fact check. 2009, these big fires, there was one devotee, Bhakti yoga practitioner, his house lit on fire. But the problem was he was sleeping. So he was sleeping there very soundly, and his house started to burn. But then all of a sudden, his alarm clock, or whatever it was, it started making a sound. And specifically, it was Srila Prabhupada, our spiritual master here. He was chanting, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. So, and it was so he heard that sound of Srila Prabhupada chanting, and he woke up. And he realized that, my house is burning, so I got to get out of here. So he grabbed a few essentials, credit card or whatever. he grabbed a few things that were valuable to him, whatever he could. He was running out of his house. And he left, and he lived to tell the story. So, yeah, if we are sleeping and there's a fire in our house or wherever we're living, then we could be awakened by sound, by hearing, and and hearing what we listen to, our friends, our family, how they speak to us, how we speak to them, hearing process. It could actually, you could say, could destroy somebody's life, or it could help someone greatly. Just like in a healthy society. Of course, we're getting all into that, but we won't get too much into that right now. But in a healthy society, and most people would agree, but at least I'm speaking from the point of view of this particular tradition. But in a healthy society, a child naturally has the affection of their parents. And they say, like our spiritual teacher would say, for a mother, the love for the mother for the child is, we could say, the closest to pure love in this world, in the sense that it's selfless. Like the mother is not thinking, all right, well, I'm changing your diapers now, and when you're a baby. And I'm getting up in the middle of the night because you're crying, and I'm feeding you, but I'm racking all this up on I'm tallying all this up, right? I'm keeping invoices, right? How much I've served you, and then later I'm gonna expect like a payback. But it's of a selfless nature, right? Healthy, in a healthy relationship. So, but a lot of that, you could say, affection or nurturing from the parents or the mothers in healthy society is from how the person speaks to another person, right? We could speak to a person very pleasingly, I don't want to get too sentimental, but very lovingly, right? Or we could speak to someone very harshly, rudely, harshly, etc., right? So the hearing, it has a big effect in our lives, actually. So it says that when one is sleeping, and because they say there's different states of consciousness. There's deep sleep. There's light sleep. There is waking consciousness, like in the daytime. And then they say that there's the spiritual platform, spiritual level, which is the highest of them. So if one is now, of course, there's deep sleep, like at night, or lighter sleep, and then there's in the daytime being conscious. But it says that for one very engaged in materialistic life, for one operating on a false ego, it's called false egoistic platform, it's compared to be, or one operating, you could say, under ignorant principles, which I guess you could just say ignorance, not knowledge. It's said to be like sleeping. They're said to be like sleeping. Now, of course, to wake up, right, people talk about waking up and all this. To wake up, it's, yes, on one hand it is easy, but on another hand, it may be a little challenging, and also take some time to wake up. Just like for those of you who are parents in the audience, I don't know how many of you are out there, but it's a common phenomenon amongst parents that when they're trying to wake their children up to go to school. They're like, no, I don't want to get up, and just let me sleep another 5 minutes. And they're kind of like semi-consciousness, or you hit the snooze button or something, and then even after getting up, they're still kind of like asleep, half asleep. And then maybe an hour or two later, they start to wake up, and so it's a common thing. Children, humans, it's a common thing. So we may not be able to wake up completely. It's possible, but we may not be able to wake up completely automatically, like spiritually speaking. But we could gradually wake up, right? And that's said to be what we're supposed to do with our time and with our life, is gradually wake up into spiritual existence. So how do we do that? Well, we do that by hearing. We do that by hearing. Just like that example of that man waking up when the fire was there. He did it by hearing. And just like So we have to hear. And the thing is, we're already hearing anyways. Like, people are following American politics, people are following Indian politics, people are following... They're watching cricket, right? Or they're watching football or this or that. They're watching so many things, and they're listening. Generally, people aren't watching like the football game and they got it on mute. I mean, some people do that, but you know anybody who's done that before? Yeah? What was the reasoning?
I don't know, but they always had it on and just no volume.
Oh, okay. Has anybody ever met anybody who would watch a football game on mute, but did they ever tell you why? Yes.
They said it was because that way they would hear the commentators and they weren't influenced by the commentators. See the play and imagine what the call would be for the rest of the
Oh, I see. Okay. So Victoria's saying that she knows somebody who would do that, listen to or watch a football game and not listen to, have it on mute and just kind of watch it, and then they would, so they weren't influenced by the commentators, and then they could kind of comment on it, I guess, right? In essence. I knew somebody, I think they said they used to watch interviews on mute. They'd kind of like guess what they're talking about or something like that. Kind of a strange thing to do, right? Try it later. Yeah. Yes. Screens? Yes. Oh, okay. Wow. Oh, I see. Interesting. Yeah, so he's saying there's been people who, you've seen people who watch, you got a baseball game going in Chicago, you got a baseball game going on in San Diego, you got a baseball going in LA, so just kind of covering the bases, right? No pun intended, right? Bases, right? Baseball, bases. That's what they call it, right? Running from base to base, first base, second base, third base. So people are hearing things, football games, this, that, so many different things, podcasts, right? There's so many, I don't know how many podcasts there are nowadays, but there's podcasts about everything practically, good and bad. But so we're hearing already. So the idea is that we just lend an ear, or lend our ears to the transcendental message of Krishna consciousness, the spiritual messages of Krishna consciousness. That's the idea, and lend our ear to hear the transcendental sound of the Hare Krishna mantra, like we were just chanting. It's right up here, Hare Krishna. And that is said to be like the alarm clock. It's said to be waking us up gradually, if not immediately. So to hear. And sometimes people, like, there's so many books out there, right? How to have a happy life, and podcasts, how to have a successful, happy life, and there's all these. I mean, there's so many books. You could probably spend your whole life just reading books, how to be happy. It's a common topic. So here's another guy saying how to be happy, but from the Srimad Bhagavatam, and specifically what we just read here, it says Cheto Darpana Marjanam. It means to cleanse the heart, which is synonymous to the consciousness, to cleanse the consciousness. So that is how we actually can become happy, by having a clean heart. That's how we become happy. And what does that mean? It means a heart or consciousness devoid of undue selfishness and greed and anger and all these different qualities that sometimes take control of us. So to be free from that means to be happy, and that happens by having and how does that happen? That happens by chanting, or specifically by hearing, right? By hearing. And then it says, by this hearing, our consciousness will be cleansed, and then Krishna will reveal himself. The Supreme Personality of Godhead will reveal himself gradually as we come closer to him. And there's a famous, this is Srila Prabhupada here, our spiritual master. And his guru, on the altar here, there's the pictures, and there's pictures of Srila Prabhupada, and then to the right is Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Srila Prabhupada's guru. And Srila Prabhupada's guru, he had verses he would quote, and specifically favorite verses. So this verse was one of his favorite verses, I'll tell you right now. Ata Shri Krishna, maybe Moha could learn this, huh? You could learn it. Ata Shri Krishna Namadi Naba Vedgrayam Indriyai Sevan Mukhe Jivadao Swayameva Spuratada. So that verse is saying that the material blunt senses, means the material senses cannot perceive transcendence, cannot perceive Krishna, because Krishna is the supreme spiritual, right? So cannot perceive Krishna. But by engaging the senses in Krishna consciousness, and then he says the tongue, in Krishna consciousness, then, and how do we engage the tongue? We engage the tongue by chanting Hare Krishna, and by taking food that's been offered to Krishna with love and devotion. By these two processes, it says that Krishna reveals himself. Our senses become purified, and Krishna reveals himself. So here it's saying in the purport that we will, step by step, get that revelation. Shri Shri Gauranitai ki jai, Shri Shri Radha ki jai. But the hearing has to be from somebody who is practicing. In other words, we have to hear the Hare Krishna mantra, we have to hear the Srimad Bhagavatam from somebody who's a practitioner of Bhakti Yoga. Now, of course, we have to say we have to. I mean, it's a free world, people could do whatever they want, but if somebody wants to make progress, spiritual progress, according to the Srimad Bhagavatam, according to the purport we just read, it's being advised that we hear from somebody who is a practitioner, a Bhakti Yoga practitioner, a devotee. And Srila Prabhupada quotes, Srila Sanatana Goswami has forbidden us to hear the chanting of an artificial devotee or non-devotee. So nowadays, with the advent of the internet, there is ample opportunity to hear from artificial devotees or non-devotees. And So we should know who's an artificial devotee and who's a non-devotee. Because if we hear from artificial devotees or non-devotees, it's considered to be harmful to our consciousness. Interesting enough. Because it's Krishna's name. But Sanatana Goswami, one of our great teachers, he says it's just like milk or nectar, right, touched by the lips of a serpent. And he's not calling these people serpents because to try to put them down or something like that, but he's just, as a teacher, he is trying to explain the importance of hearing from the proper persons. So, like on YouTube, for example, you'll find people, kirtan singers, who are very beautiful, harmonium players, and they have a beautiful voice, materially. And they have millions of followers and millions of, we call them hits, right? Views, okay, views, hits, whatever. In other words, a lot of people listen to them. But the question is, okay, are they a devotee? Or are they artificial devotee, or are they non-devotee? And we have to be careful, because a lot of them may not be devotees. Like I knew of one, I don't know what his situation now, and I'm not going to say his name right now, but I knew of one, and like a very basic, like a super basic, principle of Krishna consciousness. I mean, in some ways it's not even a spiritual principle. It's just like a normal kind of a good principle, is to not eat meat. To not eat meat. To not eat flesh. Why? Because it's harmful. It's harmful to the animals, poor innocent animals. In this country, for example, a lot of people are into dogs. Whatever, people are into dogs. I'm not gonna. But my friend was at UCSD one time, and he's practitioner here, and he had some pictures up of our farm and everything, and we have cows. We take care of cows because cows should be taken care of, and it's a very ancient principle within this tradition, and all animals. But anyways, but this UCSD college student, young man, he came up to my friend and he said, "You guys," because he was referring to us as Hindus, right? "You guys worship cows, right?" It's kind of. And then my friend, he said, "Yeah, we worship cows, just as you worship dogs." Means in America, it's it's common. People have a pet, and there is room for having pets, but which we won't get into the whole conversation right now. But he was saying that, yes, just as you have affection for dogs within this country, it's a big thing actually. Within India, they have affection for cows, right? So, anyways, but it's violent, and it degrades the conscience, and so on. But so this kirtan leader, who's very well known and very knows the harmonium very well and materially, whatever. I wasn't so attracted to his voice, but I actually only heard it once when I was somewhere, but I never listened to him in my free time. But anyways, but this person, he was just, he wasn't even following that principle. He was still eating meat and then having these big kirtans. And then even in some cases, he was saying, "Oh yeah, I don't know if I really believe in Krishna." And so, anyways, I don't want to diverge into all that, but please forgive me. But we just have to be careful. So the idea is to know who we're listening to. That's all. It's simple. It's a simple principle. To know who we're listening to. Are these people actually following? Are they actually saintly? Are they actually, moral people? Are they standing for what they're trying to propagate? Right. And then the effect will be wonderful. It will be life-transforming. It will be extremely elevating. We will be like a we'll just, blast off into Krishna consciousness. Because the purer the person, means the purer the chanter, the purer the devotee, then the more, inspired we could become. So that's a principle too, that he's mentioning here, to hear from the proper person. In this Krishna consciousness, it is not something foreign. Because sometimes people think, Krishna consciousness, the message of Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita means the song of God, right? Gita, song. Bhagavad means Krishna or Bhagavan. So it's a song of God. And people think, because it's studied throughout the world, people think, the Bhagavad Gita, that's for Hindus, right? That's for Hindus. People born in India, right? Should have kind of darker skin. It's for the Hindus, right? But we don't say like, we have math. We don't say, this is Indian math, this is Chinese math, right? This is American math. Math is math. So in other words, the Bhagavad Gita, or the message of Krishna, it is not meant for the Hindus alone, but Bhagavad Gita is meant for humans. All humans. In other words, it's universal. So Krishna consciousness is not foreign, and it's actually there within the heart of all living entities. There's a particular verse, and a Bengali verse. Or is anybody from West Bengal here? No? All right, good. Because then you won't be absolutely disgusted with my Bengali. But it's Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sadhya Kabanoi Shravanada Shuddha Chitte Kora Idoi. So it means that Krishna consciousness is eternally present in the hearts of all living entities. Means whoever they are. It's there. Within all of us. And everyone. It's there. And by the process of hearing and chanting Shravanam Kirtanam, it awakens. That awakens. So this is what's being mentioned, just to hear. And then it'll awaken. And it's just like the rising of the sun. It means it's gradual, the rising of the sun. Try it out tomorrow or in a few days. Wake up early enough and try to see, or if you're already up, go outside and see the rising of the sun. It's gradually rises, right? Everything's dark, and then it becomes lighter, and everything becomes clear. So similarly, within Krishna consciousness, it's like the rising of the sun means in our consciousness things become very clear, just like it's clear in the daytime. So anyways, those are just some thoughts in relation to this verse and purport. Does anybody have any comments or questions or any, say, reflections? As Vaishesha Prabhu says often, reflections.
In Farsi, Hare Krishna. In Farsi, Shabanam, Shab is night. So Shabanam is Kirtanam, so I'm assuming the Kirtanam is the light, the sun rising. So it's very interesting. Farsi is an Indo-European language, so there's an influence there. That's my only reflection.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Hare Krishna.
Shabanim?
Shab is night. So Shabanam. It could be Shabaman. Shabaman is my night. And the Kirtanam is like my night becomes my sunrise.
Okay.
It might be a little bit, maybe that's some Bengali influence of Farsi.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, nice.
Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Daniel.
My question is, if somebody, like my uncle,
Your
he
uncle's here?
sleeps. No. He sleeps really deeply. So you can put like a bolts and nails inside a blender next to him. He won't wake up. So
I don't know if I believe that.
I'm gonna
You should
ask.
try it though.
I want to ask if somebody is not able to wake up at something.
Kumbhakarna.
If somebody's not waking up to a, let's say, like a disaster going on in their house, are they just like in the mode of ignorance, or or they just have some type of power?
Yeah, I mean, there is some idea like that. If you're, I mean, of course, you could just be a heavy sleeper. You know, maybe you work really hard and you're a heavy sleeper. And I know people who are heavy sleepers. I know people who are light sleepers. But, I mean, in general, they say sleeping isn't the mode of ignorance. Because, like, for sleeping, for example, it's like for a big-time mover, a big-time business, what do you say, magnet? Is that what you say? Huh? Magnet, business magnet. You know, for them to sleep, it's like, of course, they could have a bunch of people working for them, and generally that's the case, but people for making a lot of money, you know, millions, billions, trillions of dollars, I suspect, you know, during their waking hours, they're doing something in relation to utilizing their intelligence to keep it going, you know. And even if that means just making sure everybody else who's working for them is going, but they're doing something like that. So in other words, on the material platform, you can't make much progress sleeping. And on the spiritual platform, also, you can't make much progress spiritually. Now, of course, some people may argue that, well, you could do all types of things in your sleep, right? Meditate or whatever you want. But at least from this particular tradition, the waking hours are the times of where you can make the most progress. And therefore, great devotees, great saints, within so many traditions, they always reduce the sleep, actually, because they want more time to help people. Like Srila Prabhupada, he reduced his sleep. He didn't sleep much, 3 hours a night, 4 hours, something like that. And then he was working for the benefit of others. Now, of course, we can't imitate that. We could try, but so it may be a little difficult. But yeah, even like these people, anyways, really, historically, you have all these tyrants and everything, like Stalin. Stalin? That's how you say his name, right? Stalin, yeah. Anyways, you know what I'm talking about. But he would reduce his sleep, and so many people like that reduce his sleep. They would be so severe about how fixed they were, actually, on their mission, even though if it was completely insane or violent, they were so fixed, actually. Like Srila Prabhupada said one time about Mr. S, he said, Stalin, he said, one time he was going to get surgery on his stomach. Sorry, it's a little gross, but he's going to get surgery on his stomach, and then he told the doctor, because the doctor was going to give him whatever anesthesia, right? Put him to sleep or whatever. And he said, no, don't give me that. That's okay. You could just go ahead and perform the operation on my stomach. He said, I want to see what's in there. And apparently he stayed awake and he, you know, saw the operation. And someone may say, oh, how did he do that? Because generally, even just, you know, people like cut their finger or something, there's a little blood, they faint or something like that. So how could he do that? And this is Srila Prabhupada's example. He said, because he was fixed on his mission, despite how foolish it was, but he was fixed on his mission. So he said, similarly, a devotee, a bhakti yoga practitioner, over time, gradually, right? It's not exactly easy or automatic to become so fixed, but gradually they become so fixed on their mission of becoming spiritually realized, of helping people. Then it gave a similarity like that. So. But, yeah, generally, it's kind of a long-winded thing, but generally sleeping is in the mode of ignorance. Yeah. But we'll have to go to your uncle's house and see how much he could tolerate. Your uncle's a nice guy. I met him the other day, actually. From where is he from?
Hare Krishna?
Kosovo? Yes. Yes.
Is there time for
Yeah, you could ask.
Okay, Balaram Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances, all glories to
Please send my
Srila Prabhupada.
obeisances, all glories Prabhupada.
Thank you very much. Prabhu, the quote from the purport you chose for today is as follows.
Do you think you could wait just 1 minute, because I think they're going to turn up the volume so we could all hear you better.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Can I go now?
Yes.
So the quote is as follows, related to the verse you chose for today. Quote, one who has dedicated his life to the service of Krishna through these 9 methods should be understood to be the most learned person, for he has acquired complete knowledge. End quote. Prabhu, my question is related to a very popular saying amongst at least some people who think they are very intelligent and learned. They think that ignorant people can be much happier than learned people and educated people. So my question is as follows. Why is it that in accordance with Prahlad Maharaj's statement, to be learned is so important? What is the importance of being learned? What is it that we miss if we do not turn ourselves into learned persons, educated persons?
Okay. So, all right, thank you very much for your question.
You're welcome.
He's in Spain.
No, Portugal.
Oh, sorry. He's in Portugal, sorry. Please forgive me. So yeah, it is important to be learned, because we should also remember that to become learned or to become educated, it also means to develop good character. Actually, that's the basis of education, at least from a traditional point of view, that the person actually has good qualities from their education. You know, they're taught how to be good people. So that's one thing, and it's not that one becomes educated and they're like the good qualities are just like non-existent in them. It's like, yeah, he's so educated. He's got 10 PhDs. I don't know if anyone's ever had 10 PhDs. I don't think so. Huh? Yes? Really? Okay. She says they had 10. Huh? Yeah, genius. So let's say they have so many PhDs. Like, for example, I won't say his name right now, but I said it the other day in class, but I won't say his name right now. But there was one very intelligent, materially intelligent person who's super well known within the world, historically speaking, and a genius, right, by all material standards. But in his personal life, he was not of such high character. He was, what is it? I won't get into but he was he was married to his wife, right? To a wife, but he was a womanizer, big womanizer, right? In kind of a gross way. And generally, I mean, that's not seen to be like a terribly good quality, especially within people of super high, respectable positions. For example, the President of the United States or the President of Prime Minister of some of the country, if there's some weird scandals involving them in relation to this, then it's all over the news, and it's a big problem. And then, okay, now somebody else who's a citizen, not super famous and well known, and it's not such a big problem. People don't really. So anyways, this person was like that. So real education means to develop the good qualities, the innate good qualities within people. It doesn't just mean to learn a bunch of facts and figures, but it means to develop good qualities. So when Prahlad Maharaj says to be learned, he's also referring to developing these good qualities by the practice of Krishna consciousness. That's one thing. And another thing is that education is important. It's or else what does society turn into? Just turns into complete. Yeah, I mean, what does it turn into without education? And we should note that to become educated, it will take us time, and it actually, by practice, we become educated too. Spiritual practices, we realize the knowledge, because there's theoretical knowledge, and then there's realized knowledge. We know it, the facts and figures, but then there's realized knowledge. I mean, it becomes real to us. But even to become like a barber. I don't know if anybody tried to become a barber here. Dennis? Okay, Jen? Oh, okay. Oh, you cut your brother's hair, but okay. Cut Govardhan's hair. Easy haircut, right? Shave his head. But to become a barber, I was speaking to someone today, actually, my uncle. And he was saying that, anyways, he's from Oregon, he's here in California now, and he wants to become a barber again. And to do it, it's like it takes a year. I had no idea of schooling. You have to learn like the anatomy, and because I guess after you get a haircut, they sometimes have a massage or whatever. You have to know different diseases, and it's a whole testing period. So just become a barber. Of course, they're important, but it's a year, just to learn everything. And so, what to speak of spiritual life? The whole Srimad Bhagavatam, and that's one. There's the whole Chaitanya Charitamrita, and then there's so many books. So, it's a journey. Anyways, I hope that kind of.
Yes, Prabhu. Wonderful, indispensable answer to my question. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody have any other question? Yes. Yes.
Hare Krishna, and
Hare
thank
Krishna.
you.
You're welcome.
A lot more information has come in, so I will be paraphrasing some of the things that you had mentioned. You had mentioned something about hearing Krishna's name specifically chanted by someone who's a non-devotee, or what was the other
Who
one?
doesn't practice, or Prabhupada says artificial devotee, or non-devotee.
Artificial devotee
Yeah.
is
Harmful.
Yeah. So my question is, well, okay, I've heard things like Krishna's name is non-different from him.
Yes.
And so
That's true.
I'm curious, like, if everybody has some degree of Krishna consciousness within them, this person, for example, like the one you talked about who ate meat still, but they were chanting for lots of people, is there some element of purification that happens for at least maybe them? Like, I don't know if it's because it's harmful for others. Like, is there some purification happening for them? Like, could it in any way be influencing them to break past some of those things that aren't so qualifying?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. So Krishna's name, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, his name is non-different from him. So, in other words, you chant Krishna's name, you associate with Krishna. So, now the question is, okay, well, these people are chanting Krishna's name, so aren't they associating with Krishna? And aren't they giving people the association of Krishna? So our spiritual authorities like Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Srila Prabhupada's guru's father, and so many other different devotees, they have brought up this idea of the shadow of the name. Means, like, for example, I'm standing in the sun, right? I, Balarama Dasa, am standing in the sun, and there's my shadow, which is not me, or you could say not my body. It's a shadow of my body, right? But of course you could say, oh, well, that's Balarama Dasa's shadow, shadow of his body, but it's not me. So, and you could go and try to talk to my shadow, see how far you get. Hey, how you doing? I'm not going to get too far talking to my shadow. You may not get too far talking to me either, but in terms of making progress, but at least you could carry a conversation with me, and maybe pick up some. Anyways, they say you could take gold from a filthy place, so maybe get some benefit. But a shadow is not the substance. So similarly, these people who are chanting Krishna's names, they may be non-devotees, they may be artificial devotees. They're chanting Krishna's name, but it's a shadow of it. It's not the real, no, it's not really Krishna. It's a shadow. So, and it depends why they're chanting. Sometimes, they chant they say Nadanam, like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Nadanam, Najanam, Nasundarim, Kavatam, Va, Jagadisha, Kame. He says, I'm not worshipping Krishna for wealth, or of course he's speaking in the context of a man. Means I'm not practicing Krishna consciousness for wealth, or for women, or for followers, or anything else. He says, I'm just practicing Krishna consciousness so I could have my relationship with Krishna. I just want service. That's what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was saying. So a lot of these, as Prabhupada says, non-devotees or artificial devotees, they are chanting for these things. Because it's clear, actually, due to their behavior and what they say and how they operate. It's clear. So, but I'll just tell a little brief story in relation to this. There was a man in India, and he was talking about Krishna and the gopis, and those of you who know the gopis, Krishna's, right? Cowherd girls, the pure devotees. Anyways, so he's talking about the gopis and Krishna, and then he was crying, right? Because he was in so much ecstasy. He was crying. And then he got off stage. There's hundreds and thousands of people. So he got off stage, and then he went like this, with his nose. Right? And there were slivers of chili in his nose, Because if you put chilies in your nose, you cry, right? And then you can make like a display of ecstasy, right? Oh, Krishna, and you're crying, but it's chilies in your nose. So that's what he did. I was told by somebody who, anyways, and I accept it as true because people do so many things, right, to fulfill their desires or purposes. So yeah, we have to be careful who they are because we want the substance, we don't want the shadow. And but on the other hand, they will make some gradual progress because they're associating it with even the shadow of Krishna is purifying. But yeah, there will be some progress, but it's advised that we don't, go for that. But there's some progress.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome, Hare Krishna. Is there any other last comments or question from anybody here? No? All right. My friend, you always just say, going once, going twice. All right. No questions or comments. Okay. And yeah, also if any of you would like to ask or some comment or question or whatever after this ends, then you could feel free to. I think we have a announcement. Okay, we have an announcement from our head Pujari Dainiti.